Hello and welcome to Low-Code Campfire. This is episode number 232 for February 2026. I am Dale Warner, Head of Support for Plant and App, joined by the capable Patrick Anderson of USPA, and hopefully we'll have more people show up here in a little bit. Today's topic, among others, will be Forms 2.0 in the phone field, so I'm glad Patrick is here to review that with me. This is an event that we do every Friday, 10 a.m. Central Time, where we get together to talk about all things Plant and App and perhaps help you move your projects along. This is open to everybody, so beginner to expert. We will all work together to help move you along on your projects. We record all of them, put them on YouTube, so you can get to those at youtube.com/plantandapp. We'll run this agenda today where we stop and say hello, and then after that, we'll go around the campfire. We always do first call and anything submitted in advance. We'll do some things that I've prepared, but we'll get into all these different things. And then if you want, after an hour or so, we go into our afterglow segment. That's where we turn off the recording, raise a virtual adult beverage, and begin our weekend. Just enjoy each other for a few more minutes. So do engage with us, jump in, show and tell, use the chat window. Some people even raise their hands when you're feeling very polite. You can submit questions and topics in advance. Those go to support@plantandapp.com. I'll take a look at them and put them on the agenda to talk about. And with that, I will say hello. Hello, Patrick.
I do.
Um, Apparently, after Razvan Stan did Low-Code Campfire last week, nobody wants to come back when I'm here. So, no, no. Here's
You got
Jim. Hello, Jim.
Jim joining you.
So, did either of you and Matt? So everyone's here, just dribbling in. Um, did anybody come with a first call? Something you wanted to talk about?
I
All
have
right,
a little something,
please.
um, and it's just kind of an observation that, good morning, by the way. Hello, everybody. Um,
Morning.
so I was trying to, I have a radio button that I was setting up multiple conditions for this thing to be active. So I was setting it up using some JavaScript. What I found out over time was that there's limits to the what you can do in that JavaScript area on a given form. It would be interesting to know if uh, possible, could there be kind of some documentation on that so that we could, I'm thinking about other folks coming behind me would know what's what's legal, what's not legal, sort of thing. Am I making any sense? You can
I
say,
think so. This you're talking about the show and enable.
yeah. Let me pull
Well,
up a
let's take.
form.
Let's,
Um, Let me get specific here. I'm sorry, I'm just playing catch up.
that's all right. Well, give me a second to open it up so we can talk about it a little bit. I've never hit the upper end to that, but that's not a terribly big surprise. Let's see what we can learn. So,
Like on the bind expressions, particularly
mhm.
show, enable, and value.
So you
Um,
happen to be working with a checkbox, did you say?
well, yeah, that happened to be the case, but the reality is, it seems to be across the board. So for instance, my trusty assistant, I had several conditions for this thing where if a project status was in status one, status two, status nine, or whatever, then it was good to go. You could use it. If it didn't meet that and other criteria, you couldn't, the button would be dead. Um, so my assistant recommended that because I had multiple, like four different possibilities of positive values, it was 1, 2, 9, or 10, that it used the construct includes, parentheses includes 1, comma 2, comma 9, comma 10, kind of like a SQL
Mm-hmm.
in clause. And however, that doesn't work. In fact, let me show you, I'll send you, put in chat an example of
Sure.
what I did and what doesn't work. Now, I don't know what other limitations there are, but this was one I found out after a bit of travail.
All right. So first, just to kind of demonstrate the features, and then I'll go specifically to your thing too and see if I can figure out how to make that work. But we're doing, as a reminder, so it's bind expressions, and I'm enabling this only if the status is on. So this is a true false expression. It has to be JavaScript. Um, and so the checkbox is going to be enabled when the status is on. This is just a very unsophisticated version of this. So we refresh the screen. The checkbox is not on. It's not enabled. Can't do anything with it. If I happen to type the word on, the checkbox lights up and we can do stuff with it. But it's just based on other things going on the form. So now, and I'm going to just do a little bit of copy and paste. So I'm going to rename this thing as project status, so it
Yep.
matches your setup, and then we'll use your JavaScript. So we have the checkbox, the bind expression, and so if the project status is 1 or 2 or 9 or 10, and we have license for, so we have a couple of additional things that I don't
Right.
have support for. So I'm going to drop those and just we'll do this or condition.
Yeah, sure.
So that should work. 1, 2, 9, or 10. So try that. So 1, it works. 2, it works. 3, it doesn't work. 4, 9. We're going to get into, okay, 11 doesn't work.
Yep.
10 does. So the JavaScript that you ended with, that you provided, we agree, it works as expected.
Mm-hmm.
So then you had another attempt. I'm sorry, I'm going to put this one aside here so we can come back to it easily. And one, 2, 9, 10 dot includes project status. And this, you said you couldn't get it to work, but if we could, it would be much less.
Yeah, a lot cleaner.
A lot cleaner, yes. So let's confirm it doesn't work. And interesting.
You're getting it to work.
Yes,
Of course.
completely unexpectedly, it seems to work.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised it does. I was going to comment that I've experienced before that, and I thought this was the issue, is that the brackets look at that as what I've experienced before is I can't use brackets because the field is looking for tokens, but it appears that in Dale's situation it's actually working, and I'm surprised it is.
Oh, so guess what? I am running version 1.28 and
Oh, maybe some there's been some updates that'll make it work better. Okay.
So just validating, I added a 4 there, and 4 is working and 5 is not. And just making sure that I didn't have anything left over from before. So
And Matt, what I've done in the past is I've just told, like, you to your assistant, just say, oh, because I'm using this in a planted net field that allows tokens, my JavaScript can't include brackets, and it will just rewrite it so it doesn't include brackets.
Okay, good tip.
That's
Thank you.
that's what I've done before because but that's pretty awesome if PlantinApp's done an update that will that now it can distinguish between brackets used as in the JavaScript context and brackets used in a token context. That
Well,
would be
see,
nice.
in my case, Patrick, I didn't see it as a complaint about brackets, although that in fact may be what was happening under the hood. I think it was, I thought, and I may be incorrect here, but that the dot includes was not working as expected in this context. But
No,
I may be wrong.
no, I think that you wouldn't necessarily see it as a complaint about brackets. You would just see an error. It just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if you actually if you actually saw or noted a console error, but it wouldn't necessarily be that it would say that there was a syntactical issue. There would just be an error of some sort.
Right. Right. I actually did not notice at that point I was doing a bunch of tail chasing. And so that particular debug thing didn't come up. Yep.
Well, let's see if this particular variant happens to work. Nope.
Yeah, I think I tried that split as well, and that was not happy.
So I can go back and validate. I have a 1.27 system available that we could test on, but this is almost certainly the problem that in tokens in the past, token evaluation is happening a little bit differently now, and I suspect this thing is the problem. Let's take a look. If I look at a token test here, of this, it leaves it alone. And let me find my, let's take a second to spin up this system, but we'll do the same thing in 127. But I suspect that this is evaluating to some other value that makes it a little bit crazy. Interesting. So did you also run into a length kind of an issue? It got ultimately too long? Or did I miss that?
No, even with the expanded iteration, the second one in the text there, that wasn't a problem. That actually worked great. Ironically, that's where I started, close to that, but then got led down the garden path of my assistant.
I don't know that there is an upper limit of this, although I find trying to do things that are, I mean, if it extends past these 100 characters or whatever's here, it's kind of hard to manage. And then I start finding other ways like intermediate fields, hidden fields that evaluate project status to true or false. Some other doing some intermediate work so that this expression is less.
And that's precisely what I was doing with the other ones, license fail and dashboard fail.
Yep. And for anyone watching along after the fact, just pointing out one of the challenges of action form is that this area, bind expressions, is front end and expressed in JavaScript, as compared to the show and enable are expressed in C# syntax because they're happening back end. So some things are very close but different, and I suspect, for example, includes might be one of those that has different case sense, maybe a capital I or not, and so you can kind of run into some small nuances between these syntaxes. They're close, just enough to make you crazy if you were to copy and paste from one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this finally spun up.
So on the topic of syntax, in the using to, in this case, negate something, so not license fail, for example, one of the examples that I had. Is it equally valid to say license fail not equals true? That's a question. And then also the response that license fail and dashboard fail are both as a result of tokens, which are SQL-driven bit values. Then the question becomes, with that, it displays on screen when I do kind of a intermediate field, it displays as uppercase T, RUE, and uppercase F for false. And can you test against true and false values? And if so, is that case sensitive? Oh, that's happy too.
Yes, it is.
I think it was the include, but I could be wrong.
So we can do the same test here. As a matter of fact, let's just export it. Do you know what version you're running, Matt, or can you tell us what version you're running?
Yeah, 127.
That's fine, right?
Latest.
So,
I think latest or close to latest. Patrick, I was thinking, man, I would love to have office hours with you right now.
yeah.
I remember you were one of the people that took advantage of them.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we have the same project status, we have the same checkbox and the same. Ooh, what
Might have
happened?
to save it.
Maybe, but that's not ideal. It did. All right. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 11. I don't know why this is working for me,
Oh.
Matt,
Interesting.
and not you.
All right. So my question then becomes, if you take that full example with the include project status, and the full example was basically a concatenation of those two things. So, and then that whole thing in parentheses, and then the dashboard fail and the license fail. Not to say
Well,
you have
so
to do that now. I'm not.
let's
That
this is a good one. Why would we stop now?
so you could set that as a logical true false.
Uh, license fail. We'll set it to 3, and we will experiment with capitals as well. So license
Okay.
fail, And we also have
Dashboard fail.
dashboard fail. We'll put checkbox down low. Save, take a look. So I haven't, so we've got them on the screen here, and then in our checkbox, we need a little bit more logic. And so we're going to keep, how about we keep the includes and just add these other components. That looks like what you were trying to do, right?
Yeah, I'm actually I copied and pasted the whole new schmozzle for you.
Schmozzle. I don't think we've ever had any schmozzle.
The technical term.
Okay. So that
So in other words, in
you've
order for this,
included number as a function in this one that wasn't in what we did a minute ago.
yeah, that was probably one of my 60,000 iterations of this.
All right, so I'm gonna back down to what was working plus these two new things and just step into this. So one false, and then it works. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. So I think this is working as expected. So it has to be one of these 5 numbers, and
Correct.
this has to be false, and this has to be false.
Correct.
And that's the effect we're seeing. If this is true, one of the valid numbers, it's, and then you can also do a 0 and 0, and that works, but a 1 breaks it. All right, so now let's go with, we have false, and false, if I can type, and now let's go with capital F. That's not a problem. So this particular variant seems to succeed. I'll put it on the chat just so that we have it as a reminder. So just now that we've established that much, let's go to the number version of what you did. Isn't it frustrating?
It's crazy.
So 1 false, false. So that number thing adds a different dimension that broke it.
Yep.
And
Yeah, that was so the initial attempt was without the number, just like your previous example. And that in my case, my system did not work as expected.
Not throwing an error. It's just
Not happy.
Yeah, just not happy. Don't know why. But if nothing else, this is a great. I think it would be pretty common to have status values like this and want to be able to test those. I'm going to go back to the one that worked here for a minute because now I'm curious about text. What would that look like? So we have it back. First, I'm going to establish that it's working here. And it is. So then if we go to if we wanted to do this as text, the syntax would be what? Does that look right? Anybody know?
Does Patrick, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's try it. I'm gonna make my life a little bit easier here. One, we got nothing. A, it works. B, it works. C, it doesn't. So
Oh,
this syntax will also work if you're having a if you're looking for text, which would be a great common case. Let's look for 5 different statuses that we want to enable something.
I guess what's kind of confusing me is why, when I had that exact syntax you have with, the numeric values, it did not work on my system.
Well, clearly you're just crazy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. People say I'm paranoid behind my back.
A doesn't work. One, aha, numerics and quoted are odd. They do not, but B, so
So a path that I went down was, okay, that status was in a hidden field, right? So I said, all right, well, maybe I have to put it in a number field. And that basically, when I went and did the inspection on that, it didn't, the layout, if you would, was the same. So that didn't matter at all. So you're using a mixed case and it does not work, is that right?
this works, but wrapping the number in a
Quote doesn't.
quote doesn't work.
Got
So,
it.
and if we could, one of the, okay, now I'm going to make no, one of the things that I want to talk about in a bit is what we're doing in Forms 2.0, and we want to, and this area of it reminds me not being able to understand or see behind the scenes what's going on with these expressions makes them hard to debug, right? When they work, when you finally arrive at a syntax that works, now you know, oh, this is the recipe, follow the recipe, it's going to work. But when it doesn't, there's some JavaScript running somewhere on the browser and it's kind of hard to get to. As compared to like an onchange click, this is this is also JavaScript, but you can I can't remember the syntax, but you can put a breakpoint in here and debug it on the browser, no problem. But the show and enables are harder because they're not fragments. I don't know. This I think ends up being a function in JavaScript. This is expecting one line. You can't put in 2 lines, and so you can't end up getting a breakpoint in there. Do I have that right, Patrick? Have you ever?
This sounds right to me. Yeah, yeah. I'm not absolutely certain on it, but
And so it feels like as an enhancement, being able to have an easy path to debug your bind expressions, show and enable, and value for that matter, to it would be a good enhancement. Maybe it would be better to have all of these as more in the form of on-change clicks with I assume that again, this I think is a function that returns true or false. If these were also functions that return true and false instead of just inserting a little bit of one-liner JavaScript that expects true or false. Anyway, my ramblings, but I'm trying to improve the experience. All
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great first call. Was there any piece of that we missed?
No. Thank you.
Well, so now
Appreciate
we
it.
have a syntax that works. I'll try and make a contribution out of that.
So the single quote B did work.
Yes, if you had um, in this example, if you have a B, we get checkbox, an a one enable. So one or B enables it. So you can have a mixed numeric, but for some reason you can't have the numeric quoted doesn't work. And
Okay.
that is that's confusing to me. I would think it would treat it as a literal, but
Now, there was some place, one of those type of things where I know I came across something where it had to be a double quoted literal as opposed to a single, and it's probably not. It was probably on the C sharp, enable function or something.
And I was going to see now something that began with numeric. 2C is fine. 2 doesn't work. So it's just specifically if it's a numeric. And somebody that probably understood more about JavaScript, I've been for 3 years now saying I'm not a JavaScript guy, but there's probably a nice, good reason why this. Anyway. All right. So I will.
Thanks, Dale.
Absolutely. Good one. All right. Let's find our way out of all these places. Still time to talk about what you want to talk about. Right, here we go. Patrick, this bud's for you. We are thinking about the phone field. Maybe before I go there, it would be worth looking at the phone field in action form. So now that I have all that closed down, we'll need it back again. So any old form, just want the phone field. So the phone field has our standard show conditionally enable short description. So all that standard stuff. So then we have an initial value. By the way, I heard yesterday in Forms 2.0, we're going towards instead of saying initial value and having it be kind of generic, that it will be initial phone number. That shouldn't throw people off too much, but we're going to be more specific about what we're saying initial. We have the ability to set the initial country via a free API service. So that's a built-in feature. You can hard code an initial country. You can say what countries you prefer or limit it to specific ones. You can say how you want the placeholder to be. So what shows up in the phone number to kind of prompt people to do that. Have something called international mode. And then phone is an interesting one because it has its own validation separate from our validation, which adds kind of a level of confusion and complexity because this JavaScript kind of validation that comes from the phone control that we're using fires and stops things. And so we give you the ability to turn on or off that particular piece of it. So that's the background, what the existing phone experience looks like. You've got to configure all these things to meet your use case. So questions or comments before I jump in? So here we go. We are thinking of setting up one of the first options in configuration being regional coverage. And you would make this would be a drop down. You would select either it's for a single country, multiple countries, or global. And the idea behind this is to make it easier for a low-code developer to use phone. If your use case is that you're only in one country, like you're a US bound thing, by choosing single country, you're going to get a lot less options. You'll only configure, so for example, you'd configure what the country is and be able to choose it from a drop down, and it would be required. And then we see all these other things wouldn't even show up for you. So you wouldn't be able to say allowed or preferred or exclude or initial, or all that stuff doesn't matter. And then you would still have the ability to do an initial phone number. You'd still be able to have a placeholder. We're simplifying. I think the placeholder thing has auto, remove, or custom, and we're changing that to auto, which would be the default. None. Remove kind of, that's from the perspective of the control. Remove really means what you're, may explain what's going on for the control, but from your perspective as a low-code developer, you just don't want a placeholder. So none makes more sense, I thought, than remove. But custom. So that would be single country. If you're saying multiple countries, instead of asking for the country, there would be a required allowed countries box. And to my way of thinking, it should show in the order, the country should show in the order that you enter them in this comma delimited list. And then optionally, you could pick one that would be the initial country by default. We are thinking of adding an initial country workflow. So rather than this option of set initial country using this, forcing this particular service, we would instead allow you to pick a workflow or you could create a workflow on your system and point to it that says you can use your logic to figure out how to display a country. So we would pass in the user ID so that you could get anything off the user, the IP address, plus as inputs to your workflow, and the output, we would expect a country code coming back.
One thought that I have there, and I don't know how it fits in, but I just want to make sure that it's being thought about, is that if you have an initial value now with the current phone field, an initial value, you can set an initial country. So like in our instance, we have initial country set to US as the default. But if a phone number, an initial value loads into the field that is from another country, the initial country in the phone field sets to that country based on the country code.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure that still would work that way.
Yes, let's see. So I I believe that's I believe that's the default behavior of the control, and that
Okay.
I don't see it specified here, but that it would be the idea that so long as the country code, the country code is on the list of your countries in multiple country mode, you were limiting it to allowed countries. So
Hmm.
so long as the prefix is on the list, I would expect it to automatically jump to that if you're pre-populating it.
Yep.
And then a global mode, which you um, let's see. A global mode shouldn't allow selection of a country or allowed countries. It's just going to be preferred countries and anything. A new thing, I think this doesn't exist, an exclude. So
I
if you
think
go to global mode, you're going to get everybody. If you know don't want to allow US, you could exclude it. But the default would be you're going to get everything. And then you have this preferred list that's going to show at the top in the order that you listed them. Other ones will be alphabetical. Um, yep. So in thinking about this, I guess the first question, thinking about the simplification that we're asking single, multiple, global as a first step, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, actually.
We're To me, by the way, Manu did all the work on this. I just put it into a spreadsheet, but so I'm not trying to take credit for it, but this makes a lot of sense to me that from your use case perspective, I'm either working solely in one country and I don't want to deal with the hassles of flags and um country selection, or I operate in the Americas, so I'm going to pick US and Mexico and Canada, and that's it. Or it could come from anywhere, which is more of perhaps a USPA scenario where people can jump out of planes from anywhere.
Mhm. Yes, we would definitely always be choosing the global option.
And we just want to make sure we're giving you enough control to make it easy for your users. So, like for example, preferred countries being at the top, pulling out ones where people don't jump out of airplanes. Um, So then just down here are recommendations that what we're trying to do, that countries in the drop down are sorted alphabetically. That's what we're actually recommending that uh, a countries shown wherever. We really, here, that sorting in the order that's specified, assuming the library that we use allows it. And the the global one would be your preferred at the top in the way you specify it, and then alphabetical. So that's um, our sorting. Um, you can't remove a country code if you're in multi-country or global mode. If it's got a +1 in the front of it, that can't be deleted. It's required as part of what we're doing. Um,
I
we
don't
want to be.
know. about use cases for this, but does it seem like the workflow might be a nice to have instead of a gotta have in terms of this?
Yes. So, um, are you saying whether or not we build it is a nice to have, or it should be optional for
Well,
you?
I think, no, I'm thinking more from the development team standpoint, is that if you've got the free API, and assuming that's something that will stick around, would that take care of the vast majority, if not all of the use cases versus a workflow, which seems like it might be a lot of extra work for you?
Um, so first of all, I think the IP API, um, I think the proposal is that that doesn't exist. It's not a, that will not be a checkbox in the new phone control. So let's stop there. Have you ever used that? Is this something that you would miss?
No, I have not used it.
Okay, just making sure that so instead of that, the um, we're proposing to add the workflow, and it does seem this is kind of a new area for us to. I mean, I don't think we have any other case where workflow is a parameter, except for the selection of workflows, um, like in a drop down. So this is this is new to incorporate workflow into our core logic, but I think this is a direction that we want to succeed at. So I think this will probably be there, but I agree. If we didn't develop this, for example, you could put a token in initial country and build your own workflow, right?
Yep.
If you put a token here, that you could still initialize it from a token, which could be a workflow token. So this is, I agree, looks like a nice to have, but not a. I think we want to succeed at incorporating workflows into more of our development. So I think this will probably happen.
Um, Dale, could you scroll back down to where you were talking about uh so the country code can't be deleted. I think I get that. I don't think I quite understand the country code is not a selectable text anymore, so that you are not able to copy the country code from the field. I'm not sure I quite understand the purpose of that. Um, I could very much see wanting to copy an entire phone number from a field.
I think that's good feedback. I am unaware of why that comment was there, so thanks for looking in the fine print.
Okay.
This is a convenience feature to have it drop down. If you've got Azerbaijan selected and you click it, it focuses there rather than at the top.
Hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. When changing from a country code to another, from the drop down, only the one country code is shown. So to me, that seems self-evident, but
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand that one either.
um, so this comment has to do with um, if you're focused, if you only have a U.S. format. First of all, we're not going to let you enter anything but digits. But second of all, we're going to you need to conform to the length of whatever your selected country is. Again, seems a little self-evident, but I think we're trying to cover all the bases. And then as soon as you change a country code, even if you don't change the number, the validation begins. So if you change it from US to UK.
Yeah, I think it does that now also.
I think
Yep.
it does too.
Yeah.
Yep. And one of the things that I skipped over, the output tokens,
Phone country code. Does that have it now? Maybe it does have it now.
I don't know
I
what it has.
Yeah. I but specifically I had to but I think that the situation was I couldn't actually use a token for what I did, but I had to parse
This actually looks, I believe that's a comma at the end. Looks like the documentation is kind of cut off there, it just drops off. So I don't know what it actually does produce without a quick trial.
Interesting.
But yeah, we're talking about, so you would get it with the international, without if you want it. Then you'd get the code and you'd get the prefix. You'd be able to do anything you want with those. So I'm not hearing anyone say, no, this is not going to work. And a couple of good thoughts to pay attention to. So
have you so phone that's probably would be the default value that's saved also. The other thing that I'd want to make sure is that the default value that's saved to the database seems to me should always be the complete number with international prefix as well. That's what it is now. It's always the phone field saves to the database the plus country code and the entire local number all in a it's a string without any formatting. It's just digits,
right.
and that I think is a really good way to save the number, and all the formatting of it can be handled on output. But I like having it saved like that. It's just a plus and then a string of numbers that include a country code and a local number.
And yeah, so saving to the database, especially, I mean, you get to pick which field goes there, but if you're using our create, read, update, delete forms, I think yes, we do send phone to the phone field.
Yeah.
Which brings up another small note that as we go to Forms 2.0, I mean, for now, this is going to be something that you can install and test and begin to give us feedback on. But those automatically created assets will continue to be created in action form. At some point, when the Forms 2.0 is mature, there will be a switch to, much like we did with Bootstrap 5, for example, so that you'll be able to say when you create entities that it'll be created in the new Forms product. And then at some point, when it's fully mature and ready to migrate, that will go away and our assets will always be created in Forms 2.0. So that's just kind of the timeline that'll happen at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I will take this opportunity to mention that Low-Code Cafe on Wednesday, we are going to do the preview of Forms 2.0. A lot of the features, such as they are we're going to demonstrate them and hopefully get you excited about things like the repeater field. And then I'm talking to you about the phone field today. We haven't begun developing. This is getting ready to feed the developer to here's where we want to go. So we won't see the phone field on Wednesday, but we'll be trying to get that right. And then if anyone wants to know why I'm considering taking up drinking as a sport, one of these days we'll have to get into the date time fields and money. Money is next, I think, but then daytime and
Yeah.
I am very conscious of wanting to do that right because it's one of the things that makes people crazy. Makes me it requires support. So, all right, thanks for playing along with that one, and we'll probably do a follow-up on Forms 2.0 after on next Friday. Any questions that come up during the campfire, if you want to shoot them at me or give comments or whatever. My goal in doing Forms 2.0 demonstration is to excite you enough to want to load Forms 2.0 when we actually release it. We're probably 2 weeks out from doing that, and play with it so that you can start to get a sense of where we're going and keep the feedback coming. So, all right. I think one more thing we have time for. We had somebody ask, and maybe you guys can help me with this one. I'm a little confused. We had somebody ask on the community about search for an address within miles. Somebody just did this one. Brandon was not on the meeting, so he doesn't go to the front of the line. So search for an address within X miles, and I wanted to, so that he found my contribution and was trying to get to it. Whoops, that wasn't it. What did I do? So there is this. Go to that. And this has, for some reason, it's sending me to a login. And I haven't quite figured out why that is. Because, and that was his complaint. He couldn't get to the contribution. So the permissions on this page is everyone. And I don't know why it's sending it to a login. And there's only, this is the content on the page. A listing shouldn't be able to send me. There's no JavaScript in the initialization. The form has no events. The other form has no events, so I don't know what's sending me to log in. Anyway, I'll have to figure that one out. But we have some just to demonstrate, and I'll get this to whoever it was that asked about this, that there was the ability to count up how many addresses are within that particular radius, so within a distance from one point to another. If we go farther, or bus distance, wasn't very friendly of me to develop it that way. Go farther, you get more addresses. Good question, Mark, about other things. Maybe maybe one of these modules are set to, one of the modules is set to other than page. So let's look at the settings. Permissions. It's locked to everyone, so that's expected. This one is locked, or inherit rather. And the third one, also inherit. So I'll do some research. I'll move some things off this page and see what it takes to make it do it. I'll maybe have an answer next week, but that was just weird for me. I couldn't for the life of me figure out why this was locked down. Anyway, I will also, we've got this show function button, and so if you have access to this, you have the ability to see the SQL that's behind it. And so I'll hopefully get this page published correctly, and then we'll be able to see the SQL. All right, we've made it to more than an hour, so we'll stop here. Thank you for being nice to Razvan last week while I was away. We will do this again next Friday. Thanks for joining us today. And if you have a minute, stick around and we will do Afterglow segment. Thanks, everyone.